Hey YouTube fam, it's Sarah back again with another video for this weekend. I promised in a couple of my past videos I was going to make a video on my regain story, how I regained, why, how I felt about it, and what I'm going to do a separate video next weekend probably about how I'm getting it off and what I plan to do in the future. So that. So yeah, let's talk about regain. So without getting too numbers focused, I did say I regained about 60 pounds total, and that was in like various stages and very slowly. I never like went crazy and like gained 20 pounds at one time. It was just like slowly creeping up, and I would love to be able to blame something particular, but really there's no one to blame but me. And I guess I did an episode of The Naked Truth with Fanny Elizabeth, and I talked at that point about how I had been okay with regain up to a certain point, and then I got to a point at which I was like, oh, you know what? This is too much. So I guess I'll go way back. I hit my goal weight about almost exactly 3 years ago. Very close to 3 years ago, which it doesn't actually seem like that long ago, to be honest. And I mentioned again in one of the videos I made recently that was a really tumultuous time in my life, and part of the reason I got to goal was because I wasn't eating. I used to, and this is an interesting development, I used to not eat when I was upset. I was like the opposite of emotional eater. When I was really upset, I would not eat. And again, I don't know if that's a control thing. I've had that issue in the past. But that's how it was. I wouldn't eat when I was upset. Now, that seems to have actually flipped, and I do have what I would consider to be like emotional eating. So that's something I'm still trying to work on, and I'm not sure I exactly understand why that switch happened. But I have some thoughts on it. I hopefully may make another video at some point about that, but I feel like I need to get a little bit deeper into it before I can really explain it. So I reached that goal weight. I lost that last 10 or 15 pounds probably just from not eating. So I knew that I would immediately just bounce back up. Like I knew that that was going to happen. And sure enough, I gained 10 to 15 pounds really quickly after that, probably within a couple of months. I would say maybe 2 or 3 months. I was up at 10 or 15 pounds, just from starting to eat again, not doing anything crazy. And then as time wore on, I just think that I had been really strict during my losing phase. And I think that at a certain point, I just kind of, I won't say that I gave up, but I think it was sort of a reaction to how strict I had been. And then I kind of felt like, okay, you know what? I got to goal. I wasn't happy there. So again, I had a negative, I guess, relationship with my weight at my lowest and how I felt about myself, how I felt that I looked. I didn't like the way that I looked at that weight. But, you know, I reached my goal. So I felt fulfilled in that I got into my goal, but I don't think I ever really planned for what I was going to do after that. I think I had some idea, but it was like I was so focused on getting to that goal that I was not focused on what I was going to do to maintain. And I think I just needed a break, you know, and there was a lot going on in my life that I needed to focus on. My family, my relationship, my career, you know, everything was new to me. So I was going through a separation. I had a new partner. I was dealing with my family, my children, how they were reacting to that. I had started a new job. I'd given up my business to go back to work full-time. Well, I was working full-time for myself, but to go back into the workplace full-time. So yeah, there was so much change that I really couldn't focus on my weight loss as much or my maintenance as much. And so part of it was that. Part of it was just a reaction to how strict I had been before. I know a lot of people have asked me if it had something to do with Chris, my fiance, because really quickly, Chris's story is that he had weight loss surgery as well, about a year after me. He was, I think, around, I can't even remember, maybe 300, let's say 300 pounds. And then he lost down, his smallest was about 130 5. And he's my height, basically he's about 5'10". So that was really small. And now he maintains, you know, probably between 145 and like 150 on a good week, maybe a little less than 145 sometimes. And he is not necessarily happy with that. That's way smaller than he ever intended to be, than he wanted to be, and he has incredible restrictions still after all this time and really can't eat a lot. He can eat every disgusting food you can imagine. He eats like complete crap because he can, and he still can't gain weight. And so a lot of people said, you know, well, isn't that hard? Because he is just, you know, eating whatever he wants, and you can't really do that. You know what? I can't blame my bad choices on that. Like, is it easier to make poor choices when you live in a household where, you know, other people are making maybe not great choices? Yes. But I don't think that he enabled me or encouraged me necessarily. And, you know, I'm a strong, independent woman. I can always say, no, I don't want that, or whatever. So I don't really think that had anything really to do with it. I think it made it a little easier for me to have access to crappy food sometimes, but that's about it. It really didn't have anything to do with him. So I think the first probably 20 pounds that I regained, I was okay with it. I was back up to a weight that I had actually been quite comfortable at. The second 20 pounds, you know, it was all right. I wasn't super happy about it, but I was okay with it. The third 20 pounds, that was where we started to have the problem. And I can't even put my finger on exactly what it was that made me say, you know what, this is too much now. Part of it was the number on the scale, but that wasn't all of it. I think it was just the way I felt. I felt out of control. It felt like, you know, I needed to get back to eating properly. I felt, and when I say that, I mean, I wasn't like crazy, like just eating junk all the time and eating whatever I wanted and eating, you know, every hour of the day, but I wasn't really paying close attention. So I just felt it. And kind of when I talk about the feeling that, or the idea that goal is a feeling and that I feel like I'll know, you know, when I'm at a place that I'm comfortable with, I knew when I was at a place where I was uncomfortable. I didn't even have to get on the scale to know that. I knew. So that's when I made the decision that, you know, I needed to really do something about it. And I started to change my eating habits a bit. And then, you know, the beginning of the year happened and you make New Year's resolutions. And I don't really do that. And I actually didn't start dieting or changing my eating habits hardcore until probably the second or third week of January. But I have a wedding coming up. So I thought, hey, you know, great motivation to try and make some changes. I bought a wedding dress and I deliberately bought a size smaller than I thought I needed. Good idea? Probably not, but I did it anyway. I will say I just tried on that dress last week and it looks great. So I'm excited. I could, you know, I could always lose, or not lose, but stand to be slightly smaller. But, you know, we're good. So one goal that I had, which was to fit into my wedding dress and have it look good, I'm there. And that's with about a 30, I'm actually at probably about a 35-pound loss right now. Again, I don't know exactly. I did weigh myself this morning, but, you know, I can't remember exactly, to be honest, what my starting weight was when I weighed myself at the beginning of this. So, yeah, about, let's just say a 35-pound loss. Which I know is going to sound like a lot. And when people say, you know, it's hard to get the regain off, and then I come on and I say, yeah, well, so since January, you know, I've lost 35 pounds, and normies would be like, oh, well, that's a lot of weight to lose, you know, in that 5 months or however long it's been. It's really not for me. Again, because my weight is fairly high, because I'm, you know, tall, big bone, the whole thing. Because my weight is fairly high anyway, 35 pounds is you know, a significant amount, and I'm proud of that, but it's also not a huge amount. It didn't just fall off. I've had to work really hard at it. And so when people say, you know, it's hard to get that regain off, it absolutely is. Clearly much harder than it was, you know, even a year out from surgery. But at 4.5 years, I still trust that the process works, right? And that is a big factor in why I wasn't uncomfortable, or I wasn't scared of regain, or scared of the fact that I had regained. Michael May made a video, Michael VSG made a video talking about how he's afraid every day of regaining again, because he had regained and had lost most of it. And he said he's afraid of regain every day. I think that fear is good, and fear is a great motivator. And the question is, what should you be afraid of? I'm not afraid of regain, but I am afraid of letting myself do what I did, which partially caused my regain, which is I gave up. I won't say I gave up because that sounds like I didn't care. That's not it. I didn't give up, but I stopped paying attention. I stopped making it a priority. And that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have let that happen. And that was a big reason. And I know I've talked about, looking inwardly and understanding why you do things and how you react to things and why you react that way. And when it comes to self-awareness, I think why is a really important question. And you need to ask yourself that all the time when you have feelings about something, when you react a certain way, when you do something. Why did I do that? So I guess my question was, why did I allow myself to not have it be a priority? And I explained that there were other things going on too, but there's always deeper things. And for me, I think I started to pinpoint what those deeper things were earlier this year. I realized that I saw a picture of myself at my lowest, and I didn't like it. I remember that I wasn't happy with the way I looked. Partially because I didn't feel like I looked like myself. Partially because, I don't know. Who knows, right? I didn't like it. Does it mean it was bad? I mean, I certainly wasn't thin. I was still overweight, but to me, it was just not me. And my reaction to that was like, oh, wait, no, clearly that's not where I want to be. So because I had that feeling that like that lowest weight wasn't great for me, I was like, oh, a little regain's okay, no problem. Mentally, I think, okay, let's put it in these terms. We've all heard of the body set point idea, that your body has a certain weight that it wants to be in. If you lose a large amount of weight, your body's always struggling to get back to that weight. Well, I think for me, I had that mentally as well, in that I was mentally trying to allow myself to get back to a place where I was comfortable with the way I looked and with still being fat, with shopping at plus size stores, and trying to push away those things that were uncomfortable. So being a normal size, shopping in a normal size store, not having people look at me and see the fat girl. I realized that I was reacting to the things that were making me uncomfortable still, 3, 4, 4.5 years out from surgery. I was trying to go back to being the fat girl. I was never, going to allow myself to regain 250 pounds. But I allowed myself to regain to the point that I felt like, okay, now I'm at a place where I know how to act. I'm still the fat girl. I can still shop in the plus size store. I don't have to go into the regular size store and get the hairy eyeball from, the skinny bitch that works there. That's what was going on in my head. And that is what I'm afraid of. That's my fear, that I let that dictate to me how what my weight is or where I'm going to be comfortable. That's the last thing that I should be doing. And I realized that I also was never going to be happy with the way I look. There was a day when I came to this realization that I could lose all the weight in the world, and I have like eating disorder mind, where it doesn't matter what I look like, I'm not going to be happy. I would never be small enough. It would never be enough. I would keep going, or I would go the other way. So those are the mental and emotional issues that I need to work on when it comes to my regain. But this is why my goals aren't number-based. This is why my goal has to be healthy, to eat in a way that makes me feel strong, makes my body feel good, makes me feel good, to make choices that are based on having a better life and being a whole person and not just focusing on what my weight is. So that's a bit of my regain story. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them in my next video. So see you guys next weekend. Bye.